New Zealand this morning. It's gone cold at autumn, and we've had fog. Oh my goodness, so much fog in the mornings, but that means it's going to be a glorious day. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to do 3 cards, 3 different techniques this morning. Please follow through and speed up where you want to if you're watching the replay, but welcome if you're watching the live. My name's Kaz Hurst. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from the north of Waikato, North Island of New Zealand. So yeah, let's get started. It's going to be a fun day. I'm going to turn you up and then turn you over. Here we go. I'm just going to get my, oh, that's not very straight, is it? Just get you there. Okay. Right. Now I'm just going to see if we're live on YouTube. So we're just going to go into there. Looks like we're live. Looks like we're live. There we go. Right. Let's get cracking. I'm going to do the longest card first. Let's get cracking. I'm going to do the longest card first. And I'm going to turn my volume off on here. There we go. Right. So I'm doing a couple of techniques here using the layered floral embossing folder. And what I've done is I've cut a piece of basic white cardstock 6 by 6, and I've put it through the embossing folder to save time. So you can see it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful embossing folder, and it is not retiring. It's going to be in our new catalogue. So I've done that. And this is one of the kits from last night. We're going to do something like this, just to let you know. I'm going to put this over here. And I'm going to put this to the side so we've got a bit of room. So in the kits last night, they had these things. And the card we're going to make is this. Now, there is a name for this technique, but I can't remember what it is. I've seen lots of different ways of doing it. And I'm going to show you 2 ways that I do it. And because I did a 6 by 6 piece, I've been able to put a piece inside, or you could make another card with it. So that's what we're going to do today. The sentiment comes from, unfortunately, retiring stamp set and dies called Charming Sentiments. I'm actually going to keep hold of this. I use it a lot. And there's dies to cut out all of the sentiments. And there's some extra dies in there for candles and things like that. I really love that set. And this was designed by Lisa Curcio as her $1 million sales stamp set. So for this card, you're going to need, this is a crushed curry card stock, and I've cut it an A4 in half, and then I'm folding it in half. What I've realized now is I haven't got any of my tools out, but that's okay because we're going to mess around. I've used a retiring ribbon. If you notice on the card, I put the sentiment down and it got lost. So I put a tiny bit of ribbon behind, which is this one, which I can't remember what it's called, but it colours really well. I'll put the description inside. I've got a piece of white cardstock to go inside, which measures 10 by 14.9. I've already stamped and die cut my sentiment. I like the sentiment cutouts. It cuts really close, but also it gives you a little bit of that embossed rollover on the corner, so it gives it like that smooth effect. You do have to use your tape when you're die cutting this to keep the die stuck down, because it does move. And then I've been playing with this technique so much, I've got 2, 3, 4 of these cut out already. So the first way we do this technique is to choose our colours. So I've chosen Lost Lagoon for the green, Modi Mauve, sorry, watching too many Americans, Modi Mauve or Modi Mauve, sorry, for the flowers. I've chosen Crushed Curry for the smaller flowers, which matches, and then I've used the Blueberry Bushel to do the top layer. you can start with any of the colours, and I'm going to hold this up a bit. I've frozen. Oh dear, am I still going up there? Yes, my phone's still going. So you've got the flowers, you've got leaves, and you've got these tiny little daisy type flowers. So what we're going to do is get some blending brushes. Now I, with my blending brushes, use this one for all the reds, this one for all the darker yellows, and this one for the greens. I have another brush for the bluey greens, and I have another brush for the lighter yellows, but the reds I keep the same. So I'm going to start with the reds, and I'm just going to go out of my YouTube and go back in just to make sure it's still going. So with Moody Mauve, I'm taking my blending brush and I'm inking it up, and I'm just tapping off to the side a bit, and I'm going to circle. Now it doesn't matter if you get some of the ink on outside of the flower, it doesn't matter, but what does matter is that you get a nice dark colour on those flowers. Take your time, you want to build up plenty of colour, and if you're watching this on replay you can fast forward, I won't mind at all. But sometimes it's really nice watching someone do the process. It's sort of a bit relaxing, and I'm finding it very relaxing to actually do this. Because I'm going to use my 6x6 on another project, I'm going to do all the flowers all around to make sure I've got it. Now the idea is to make sure you've got plenty of colour in on those flowers. So I'm going back in quite heavily. I'm not pushing down on the top of my blending brush. I don't want those horrible lines that you get. And I'm letting the blending brush do the work. The more you circle, the more ink you will get down. And that is our flowers. So I'm just going to close that one up. So that's Moody Mauve. Then I'm going to go to the yellows, which is the crushed curry. Again, I'm going to take my blending brush and load it up, tap some off, and then I'm just going to go in with these little flowers. Again, it doesn't matter if you go outside the lines, it's just a matter of finding all those little flowers. And some of them will have other colours on, but that's okay too. There's quite a few of them around. I seem to have missed some there. There's one in there. Okay, so I think that's all those little flowers. Just going back in just to clean my brush off mainly, but also just to add a little bit more yellow onto those flowers. There we go, so that one's done. So that's our crushed curry. Then we've got Lost Lagoon. I really like this green. It's one of my faves at the moment. So I'm just going to go in with the leaves. Just some of the leaves will be covered with the red, the Moody Mauve. And you want to make sure this is plenty dark enough, because it will get lost when you do the top bit. Oh, shaking the table. Sorry, sometimes when I'm anxious I speed up, so I'm just going to slow down a bit just to make this process more pleasant for you. And then you've got these little leaves with the little flowers that I've got covered in other things, but just add some green to them. I think that's it. So I'm just going to go round again with those greens. Oh, we've missed some green there, look. My ladies did this technique last night, and I can sense that I need to re-ink. I had to re-ink the top colour, which is the blueberry bushel, a couple of times while we were doing it, because you need to be very careful when you do the next bit with your ink pads, because they will run out of ink really quickly, and also they can tear if you're not very careful. So those are my three colours. You can see looks pretty nice, like it is. So look away if you don't like how this is going to be when I'm going to cover this whole thing with blueberry bushel. One of my ladies last night referred to it as some people don't like tearing, and she wasn't very keen on this technique. But what you do is you're going to tilt slightly, and you need to take care of your ink pad because it will tear along here. So you want a gentle hand to pull it down, very gently. Now, if you like that, you can leave it at that, but I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to turn it round so I start at this end. And there you go. So that's blueberry bushel on the top. Very gently, I hope you could see how gentle I was. And you end up with this. And this is the piece we're going to make the card with. But it is wet. It's not wet because you can touch it, but it does need a little minute to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another technique that I did with this, just to show you other ways to do it. So this was using Night of Navy with the top layer. I didn't think blueberry bushel and Night of Navy were that different, but you can see that Night of Navy is quite dark. And then I've used the new Take Your Pick attachment to put a serrated edge along here. I'm going to put a little hole in here, a bit of ribbon, and this then becomes a card with a tear-off bookmark. So I could even put a couple of slits in there, your hole, and then do that. So this was using Daffodil Delight, and this was Melon Mambo, and the green was Lemon Lime Twist. But I think if I was to do this again, I would use maybe Shaded Spruce for the green, because the Lemon Lime Twist and the Daffodil Delight aren't sort of bright enough together. But I think if this was Shaded Spruce, this would pop. And then what I've done here is I've used my markers, and these are the brand new ink colours, which will be available to customers on the 1st of May. And available to us demonstrators now in our pre-order. So if you haven't got a demonstrator, a team to join up with, I would be more than happy for you to join the Happy Crafters. If you haven't got, if you have got a team and you're a demonstrator already, get online, get these ordered now. The post to New Zealand is taking a good week, so you know, you want to get those in. So you can see that I've coloured it in. It doesn't look as nice, I don't think, as the blending brush process, but this was an experiment which I'm doing with you today. The other way I've seen it done online, but not with the Stamping Up demonstrator, but a different crafter, she actually watercoloured the embossed. So we're always, this is the embossed, the up, so we're always going to use the embossed. And she used watercolours. So get your right markers out, get your your watercolours out, so you can use your ink and a water blender to colour it in. I haven't tried it with alcohol markers. Maybe you could try it and let me know. So I decided that these were the new ink colours, and I decided to pair it with Pretty Peacock. I think it's quite a dark colour. You always want a dark colour to go on top. So again, this is an experiment. I've never done this before, so we're going to give it a go. So again, I drag over lightly. Oh my goodness. I love, love, love it. So you could see the mess that I created here. I didn't watch myself within the lines. I didn't, I wasn't careful, you know, with getting it absolutely precise. But look at that. When you put that darker colour on, it really pops. And I'll tell you which colours I used with that. I absolutely love that. So Pretty Peacock we've got for that dark colour, and the colours I used were this one, and I had them memorised, and do you know what, I can't, oh, Petunia Pop. I used this one, which is Peach Pie, and I used the darker, which is either Shy Shamrock or the other one, but I'm going to look now because it will be helpful for you to know which combos. This one is Shy Shamrock. It is Shy Shamrock. And then we use Petunia Pop and we used peach pie. So I just used the paintbrush end, just coloured them in really haphazardly, and there you go. I'm actually seeing it's now it's drying off a bit. I'm going to actually go over again just to make that a little bit darker. The darker it is, the more it pops, I think. So the difference between this and the blending brush is that you do need to make sure that you colour all the way into the tops, because you can see a bit of white. But I don't think that matters. From what you saw before to that, it's amazing. Now you will get messy fingers doing this technique. However, it will be so worth it. So I'm just going to put my brushes away and that parcel away and put those away. Give you another look at that. Really love it. Isn't Pretty Peacock such a nice colour? So we've got Blueberry Bushel, Pretty Peacock and Night of Navy. I think if you love those dark colours, you'll go for the Night of Navy. Sorry, this keeps moving around. I need to sellotape it. But we're going to use that Blueberry Bushel, which by now has actually, it's still a bit, I can still feel it a bit tacky, but it's fine to cut now. You do need to give it 10 minutes or so to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off one of these sides that's got a line on it. So I'm going to use this side for the card. So I'm going to turn it up here and I'm going to cut off. So I want this side for the card. I'm just going to cut off that edge 1/2 centimetre. That will make it the right height. And then I want to use this side for the card. So I'm going to measure that out at 10 centimetres. And then we will have a card that's 10 centimetres across, and this is now 14.7. So I'm going to make that 14.4. So it takes that. Can you see how there's a line there? And I'm out of cameras, sorry. Anyway, so we've now got our piece that I wanted to use. I like these little ones. That's why I wanted to use this. Our trimmer. Don't you love our trimmer? Extendable arm. Comes in centimetres and inches. It's got this groove up here which will keep everything straight when you cut. And the bit I love is here. Let me get it up a bit so in camera. This right angle here, when you're folding your card and you don't have it scored, put this in here, bring this to it, and then you will have a perfectly formed card. See, that one wasn't quite straight. So if I push it in there, see how it comes up a bit? Perfect. So this is a good right angle to use. We have a cutting blade and a scoring blade, and we have 2 arms. So this one is a centimetre arm. I have another one with the inch arm on it. So when you're cutting, you can cut down, but then you can cut from a certain type to make a window or a frame. It's really, really good. It's probably the best trimmer I've had. So as I said, I hadn't got any of my tools out, so we need some glue. We need some adhesives, so I'm going to get my glue out, put my glue dots, tear and tape, and some dimensionals. My word's not going today. Now I'm getting my basic craft kit out. So I've got my scissors, I've got my take your pick tool and my bone folder, and I've got lots of other little things in here. The take your pick with the perforation head is there, and that opens, it's quite sharp, and then it closes. So I've got lots of little things in there. So we're going to take our bone folder and we're just going to make a really nice crease like that. We're going to take our glue. I'm going to stick this down. When you're sticking something that's embossed like this, do use glue because it gets into those little grooves. And I'm going to actually put it this way because I'm going to put my sentiment there. Or do I do there? No, I'm going to do this way. the way I thought. So then I'm going to leave that border around the edge, and with glue you've got that wriggle room. Just hold that down. You can see I've got the blue all over me. And then I'm going to take my inside. Now my inside I'm going to decorate with the leftovers. So I'm going to put that in there. And then off camera I'm going to cut this to size and then glue that in. And then I'm going to take my sentiment and my piece of ribbon. I'm going to put it a bit higher so we can see some of that. So with ribbon, just take a piece of tear and tape. It's usually the best way to tie it down. So I want it here. You want to not tape it completely down because you want it to move, which gives it a little bit of texture, a little bit of movement in the card. Makes it more interactive. So I'm going to put get my card straight. Put that up there. Oh, that's so not straight. When you're filming, it's quite hard to get things straight. So I'm going to lift this up and do it this way. That's better. So now I'm going to take some dimensionals, and you want you want a decent amount of dimensionals on. You don't want your dimensional sentiment falling off, or especially when you put it on ribbon. You need to make sure that you get some of the sentiments, the dimensionals holding on to the card. And then I've taken my scissors, my snips, and then I'm going to cut the ends off. Now these aren't my ribbon ones, so hopefully that works. Yes, so these are my paper snips. Look how they manage that quite easily. And you see I like that little groove. I'm going to actually cut that a bit sharper. There we go. And there you have it. A nice little card. You could do this in masculine colours. You could do it, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if you used all the sort of greys and the browns. So you didn't do it like a flower, but you did it just in masculine colours. It would be lovely for a birthday or celebration. And no two turn out the same. Isn't that cool? Everyone is different. So this one I think will dry a bit more and go a bit lighter. So let me know what you think about that technique. I'd love to hear what you think. That would be cool. Right, now that's one card done. I'm just going to clear up and put that to one side. And I'm going to turn over this because it's a bit messy. That's come right through, so I'm going to put myself some thicker down. There we go. Right. I just can't seem to get this straight. I think it's my stand is weighted down by the camera, but not to worry. Anyway, we are going to be using the Hills of Tuscany. I haven't played with this much since I've got it, and then discovered that it was retiring. Anyway, so I've made this card, but my sort of samples for the class were this. So on the first one I thought there was too much white space. On the second one there wasn't enough white space. And then this one was my sample where this was cool, but I had to stamp the house twice because it didn't quite work the first time. So I'm quite interested to see how I do today. So we're going to play with the stamp set. So this stamp set is a stamp set that makes a picture. And if you can see, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of stamps to make the picture. And the picture makes itself look like a watercolour. So I've got lots of inks. I have to get my gloss glue. So what I've done is I'm now putting the colours that I've used here and the stamp set and all the stamps. So I'm going to leave it there for a second so you can actually take a screenshot of that and see which colours I've used. Coastal Cabela's, Boho Blue, Daffodil Delight, Melon Mambo, Balmy Blue, Copper Clay and Lost Lagoon. And we're going to mainly do second and third generation stamping. So now I'm going to make some room. I'm going to take that away and move over my tools. When my ladies saw these stamps out, they're going, oh, so many stamps. Just so that you know, this size block and this size block are going to be retiring this year. So if you haven't got these in your stash, as you can see, I've used quite a few of them. This size is staying, so this size will be the size that you'll be probably using in place of this. But if you do have stamp sets with tiny bits, these seem to be really, really good for controlling that stamping. Oh, I've just seen what I did and the screenshot was out on that bottom colour. So let's do this for you. I'm delayed on my feedback, so there you go. Right. So we've got some bling, which is in Copper Clay. We've got a matte, which is Copper Clay. We've got Very Vanilla, which is the same size, which I'm actually going to cut down before we start. I actually cut out the kits and then thought it was probably better with the matte on it. So when you do that, it's just a matter of taking 1/2 centimetre off, or 1/8 of an inch if you're using Imperial. So now we have a Very Vanilla cardstock layer to go on that Copper Clay, which then brings out the house. Let's bring back our trimmer just briefly so I can just show you. So this hasn't got a score in it. So I've put my edge in. I turn it over, put that straight. And each time you get a perfect fold. So that's going to be my base. Don't fold that. And so these are photopolymer stamps. So I'm going to use my piercing nut to make sure that I've got a nice stamp, and I'm going to bring out my chamois so I can clean as I go. So we're going to start with this. This is a sky, and we're going to use Balmy Blue and Boho Blue. So first of all, I'm going to use Balmy Blue. I need some more room, and we're going to do a lot of stamping off. So when there's a bigger block, I tend to put the ink to the pad rather than do it this way. I'm stamping off, and you see, because I haven't got this under here, didn't quite stamp off, but that's okay. So I'm doing second generation, third generation, turn it upside down, fourth generation, and you've got a tiny bit there. Cleaned off my stamp and put that away. Now I'm looking for clouds. I'm going to do first generation in the same colour this time. Cool. So I'm actually going off rogue, and I'm not going to use the Boho Blue today. I'm just going to stick with the Balmy Blue. Now we're going to go to the ground, and I'm going to use the Lost Lagoon first. So this is the ground. Again, we're going to do second generation. So second, third, fourth. And I'm just cleaning off my stamp. Then we've got another piece of ground. which matches in. So we stamp off once, twice, 3 times, and I'm actually going to fill that corner there 1, 2, 3 times. So it's very much a water painting. I'm going to go to my Coastal Cabana and I'm going to use the outlines. Again, I'm going rogue. I'm choosing a different colour. First generation, second generation. I might actually do another one of those in second generation down here. And that's that piece of land. Then we have another piece of land over on this side. And you're just looking to layer, but just don't do anything full strength because you need those shadows. And I'm just going to put one more there and maybe 3 there. So we've just made the sky and the ground. We've just got a faint blue there, which I quite like. So that's our Coastal Cabana and Lost Lagoon for the ground. Put those away. Now we're going to put our house on with copper clay. Let's see if I can get this time. I think what's happened is my my copper clay is actually a bit juicy. So I'm just going to show you a technique. So when you use photopolymer and you've got a really juicy ink pad, what you want to do is just push back some of that ink with the bone folder that you've allocated to do anything inky. Give that a wipe off and then go straight in there. The ink will return to that place over time. And excuse if I get my head in. Oh, that is so much better. So there is shadow and dark on there to give you perspective of the house. But that's much better. And I'm going to leave that open because we're going to use that any minute. And then I'm going to go to Melon Mambo and just put the little roof on. Now, I'm going to put my head in here, I'm afraid, because it's quite hard to line up. Not bad. Now, doesn't that look like Tuscany? So I'm going to bring my Lost Lagoon back out, and I've still got my copper clay. I'm just going to put that red away for a minute. And now we've got some trees. So you can see there's little tree trunks here and the trees on the top. So what I'm going to do is thumb in ink. I'm going to put my little tree trunks in there, and I can see that there's nothing on the green. I'm going to take my Lost Lagoon and just make sure I've got that, and then I'm going to stamp once, slightly over, twice, and you can see there's a little group. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now remember about when you put any bling on, you want 3s. Well, we're going to do the same with the trees. So we've got a set of 4 trees, and then we've got a set of 3 trees. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 in the foreground. Again, copper clay on those trunks, and just check that you've got enough green on. 1, 2. So you've got that shadow. Now those trees look like they're floating in midair. So we've actually got a dottage stamp, and I'm actually going to do dottage with Lost Lagoon, and this just helps ground your trees. And then I'm going to put a little under the house there and just some random ones around. So now we've finished with the making of the house, the trees, the landscape. We're going to take the Daffodil Delight and we're going to put a sun in that gap. This stamp set would have been really nice if it had some rays as well, but not to worry. And those are the clouds. So what we're going to do now is stamp our sentiment. Now, obviously, if you don't feel confident stamping your sentiment onto your masterpiece, then feel free to do this on a separate piece and stamp and then dimension it on. But last night, all my ladies managed to do this first time. It is a beautiful, beautiful font. I do not understand why it's retiring, but I do in some ways because, you know, things retire because they're not selling. But these sort of sets I buy and I never sell after. I always keep them. I love the watercolour effect. We've got a bit of bling here just to add a bit of something. So I'm putting my big one. This is my take your pick tool, which I don't know is going to work today. Oh, it is. Wonder where. Maybe here. I think the more random you do this, the better it looks. There, and then here we go. I'm going to put one up there. So we've got our triangle. We've got our triangle here. We've got our second, third, and fourth generation stamping. So this was going to go straight onto the CAD, and I thought, oh, it's got lost. So that's why I then had to cut this piece down, because I then decided to pop it onto a copper clay, and all of a sudden, boom, framed. I did emboss my previous one with an embossing folder, the timber, but it didn't really do much because there wasn't much of the frame to see. And the nice thing about using glue is it will move if it's not quite straight. And then we pop it up on here. So if you haven't seen this stamp set, or you haven't seen it in the catalogue and thought, oh, I wonder what that does, I hope that gives you a little bit of inspiration into what you can do with it. And that is our card. So if we go back to the originals that I did, this is the one I did now. This was my sample. So very different. And this was me playing around. And this was me playing around. And actually, I think this last one, I think because I've played a bit, I think I'm actually really liking the lighter house rather than the darker house. And I think that technique of pushing the ink back really helps. Again, let me know what you think. Love to hear from you. Now we've just got one last card to do, which is really, really easy and straightforward. It's using a stamp set and dies that aren't retiring because they're in the online store, but in South Pacific, the stamp set and dies are on low infantry. And when it goes to low infantry, sometimes it doesn't come back. So if you do like timeless charms, and you've seen a few people use it, I've used it so much. I like these shapes, and when you do these shapes in pale colours and then use the flower in maybe gold or silver embossing, it looks so effective. So this card I saw online, and I'm really sorry to whoever did it. I did case it. I've changed it slightly, but only by using different colours. But I really apologise that I should have written it down. But I watch so much YouTube and look at Pinterest so many times. It's what I do when I go to bed. That sometimes it's really hard to remember who does what. So we're going to make this card today. So I'm going to show you that what I used was this die. And what I did was, and I've done it already, so it's really quick. And this is the pack. And where is my bling? Anyway, the bling's not there. So what you do is you actually put the die through your die cutter with all three pieces of CAD. And you put it through. Once you've put it through, the top one will be cut. the second one will be slightly cut but need going through, and the bottom one will be embossed. What you do then is you put your die back on and it will go into the place where it needs to be. Put a bit of tape on it, run that through, then that one's cut. And then this one is a little bit harder because the indentation is quite soft. So you put it on, put your tape on, run it through. The reason you do that is you want the flowers in the same place on each piece of card. So yeah, so that was an exercise in learning how to cut multiples without getting it in the wrong place each time. And our cut and emboss machine takes 3 pieces of card, no problem. So I've got my 3 pieces of card done with my 3 pieces of flower. I've got a half sheet of thick white cardstock, like so, and I've got an inner piece. So the inner piece I've used Starry Sky, again a colour that's retiring, and all these colours are retiring. So this is Starry Sky, Orchid Oasis and Tahitian Tide. They will be retiring, and I do believe in some places some of the products have already sold out. So I'm using one of the leaves, and I'm going to stamp 1st generation, 2nd generation, 3rd generation, and that just is something on the inside of the card. While I'm here actually with this out, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I've got a very thin piece of cardstock, and what I've done is actually some stamping surgery. So we've got happy birthday, comma, my dear, and I've actually cut the my dear off and then I've trimmed the comma off. You can put the stamp set back together, but the comma won't be there. I couldn't cut it with the comma off, and that gives you a happy birthday that you can use for any person, any generation, and then you can put the my dear back if you want to. Excuse my head. This piece is just about the right size for that sentiment. I just didn't want to cut pieces of cardstock down. So that's all our stamping done. I'm just cleaning off as I go with my chamois to the side. So now we're going to put it together. I've got a piece of Orchid Oasis, sorry, Tahitian Tide ribbon. And I don't seem to have any bling in my pack, which means it's still in the paper bag, maybe? No. Ooh. So we've got some, these are the festive pearls that will be retiring. So I can find those. Now, what I found the easiest way to do these was to turn them over and to take some tear and tape just to secure them. So I'm going to put the Tahitian Tide into the Starry Sky. So you pop these in and they should go back in. Just sort of make them go, and then I'm going to try and stick that one in. Yep. There we go. And you just secure that with a bit of tape just to hold it in. I don't know why that one won't go properly. That's okay. Is it? No. I'm going to just try that one again. It's just not sitting quite right. There we are. It's better. So those are in. Then we're going to go Orchid Oasis into Tahitian Tide. And you just need to pop it back in. It will go. Take your tear and tape just to secure it in. I'm going to do 2 bits because I think that bottom bit moves. This all moves when you pick it up. There we go. So that's that one, and then Starry Sky into Orchid Oasis. I think this is the hardest bit of this card, potentially. It's getting them back in. Again, secure them down, and that's done. So we're going to start our gluing. I'm going to put my inside in. Now I've used an extra piece of cardstock inside just to give it a bit more weight and strength, even though it is thick cardstock. It just gives it that extra weight. Now I'm going to place these where I want them. I'm going to actually move it around. This one I did a bit crooked, so I'm going to use glue this time. I did tear and tape last time, but it didn't move. So what you're going to do is actually put the two sides on first. Even though normally I would put the middle one on first, I'm going to go for doing the outside pieces first. So I'm going to add some glue. I've taken the backing off the tear and tape, and I'm going to pop that in. So I want the same border all the way around like that. Then I'm going to take the other side and put my glue on. And again, the same border around there. And then the one in the middle, finally. Hello, those of you that are watching. If you'd like to say who you are and where you're from in the chat, that would be awesome. Don't forget to give me the thumbs up. That's really good for my YouTube. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I've had my head down crafting. I haven't looked up, but I can see there's a couple of people watching. I'm going to put some more glue under there. Oh, that's going to leak everywhere. So if you've got a sticky bit, which I seem to have up here, if you take your embossing butter, which I'm not going to get because that's really sticky. I don't know why. If you take your embossing buddy, just go over it, like so, until that stick is gone. There we go. I've got some there. I don't know why that's... Oh, you know why it might be, because I put the tape on to cut them out, and maybe that's just held a bit of tacky glue on the paper. Right, just wanting to get those down. Lovely, so that's done. And then we're going to take our sentiment. So I'm going to cut an angle this end. And I'm going to cut an angle this end. I'm going to then take my dimensionals. And pop those up. Now I've used the normal size dimensionals, but you could use the sides of your dimensionals, which are a bit more skinny, or you could use the mini dimensionals. There we go. And then I'm going to take a glue dot from my ribbon. And because this ribbon's really thin, I'm going to roll my glue dot up into a little roll, pop it on the back there, and pop that there. And then I found, so the envelope I looked in earlier was not the envelope from the card, so I found my little bling. So these are the festive pearls. Oh, I love them. I've used them all the time. They've got gold, silver, red, and this bluey silver, which I thought went with this card really, really well. And again, I'm making that triangle. And every time you make a card, you make it differently. So I'm going to cut that off a bit too. Again, my scissors I use all the time for paper, but look how they go through ribbon. And yeah, just amazing. So there's my 2 cards. It's got a bit of flaky powder on it. There we go. And I've noticed I've done them completely the opposite way and totally different. So every time you make a card, it's really different, but I really like that. Inside, you've got your little bit of leaf. So there are my cards today. Which one did you like the most? Let's get them all out again. That one. And then this one. So those are my cards. I don't think it was that one, no. I think it was this one. This one was slightly darker. There you go. There's my cards. Let me know what you think. Please give me the thumbs up. And I will be back. What's the day today? Wednesday. I might not be back till next week. I've got a few things going on. So yes. So thank you so much for watching me. Please give me the thumbs up, share, subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed, leave a comment. Would be all really, really helpful. And I hope you've enjoyed watching me craft today. And I'll see you soon. Bye.